in descending order of degrees. 2, you're going to factor out your GCF. Number 3, you want to find the product of A times C and then what B is. 4, you're going to find two numbers that multiply to A times C and add to B. 5, you're going to rewrite the expression by splitting the middle term using numbers found in step 4. Number 6, factor by grouping. Group common terms into pairs. Factor common factor. Did I write that wrong? Factor common factor. That sounds funny. No? Factor common factor from each pair. And then factor out the common expression, and then 7 would be to check. Does anyone need me to wait? Are we all done with these at this point? Look at how to write things in descending order first. So if I have, these are your 3 examples. So if we have 3 plus 2x plus 3x squared, we always want to write this one first, second, third, okay? So it would look like 3x squared plus 2x plus 3. Okay, so we want our squares or cubed, whatever we have first. We want them to go in order, right? So you can see how that's in order. So let's look at this one. We're going to use our x squared first, then our x, and then just our number. So tell me how that last one would look once you get this written down. Any questions on how we did that? I always forget to hit record. Okay, we're going to do step 4, find the numbers. We're going to find the numbers that multiply to A times C and that add to B. And as you can see in the chart, recording again. Okay, let's look at this one here. So we have a positive number and a negative number, which means that when we're multiplying, I lost where I was at. There I am on my other page. One number over here is going to have to be a negative and one's going to have to be a positive. So, but if we want it to add to be a negative 11, actually I lied, both numbers are going to be negative because a negative times a negative is a positive. So both numbers are going to be negative. So let's start with our 1. Negative 1 times negative 28, that obviously gives us a positive 28, right? Now if we were to add that, negative 1 plus negative 28, we're going to get negative 29, right? So those aren't our two numbers. Now let's start with, or move on to a negative 2. We're going to say negative 2 times negative 14. That gives us a positive 28, right? Now if we add those together, we get a negative 16, right? So we're getting close. We're not at our negative 11. So now, let's see, we can't use 3 because 3 doesn't go into 28. Huh? Okay, well, hold on. Keep your thought. Hold on. Okay, so let's jump to negative 4 because we can't use negative 3. So negative 4 times negative 7, that gives us our positive 28. And if we're to add it together, we're going to get our negative 11, right? So we found our two numbers, correct? They're going to be negative 4 and negative 7. Any questions? That makes sense so far?
How do you get a negative in the answer?
Here?
The whole thing, how did you get a negative?
Well, these are the numbers I gave you, right? 28 and negative 11. And right here we had to find two numbers that multiply together to give us a positive 28. And that would have been our negative 4 times negative 7, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. And then when we added them together, they have to give us a negative 11. So negative 4 plus negative 7 equals negative 11. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are going to be our two numbers, negative 4 and negative 7. All right, let's look at this one. Okay, we're going to go right underneath that one, and we're going to look at this one right here. So it's giving us negative 5 and 4, okay? So now this time our negative's over here, and our 4 is over here. So that means that we're going to have our smaller number on this side be our negative number, right? So we're going to start off with that negative over there. Okay. So let's go ahead and copy that down and give you like a few seconds here. Oh. Oh. I see what you're saying now, Sam. Okay. So we should have that copied down, yes? So far, so we can move on with this one. Okay, so let's start again with our 1, right? So negative 1 times 5, because we only need the first number to be negative. So when we add them together, they'll be a positive, right? So that equals negative 5. That part we're okay. So now if we add negative 1 plus 5, what do we get, you guys? 4. Perfect. We already found our number. That one was so fast, huh? They're not all like that. Don't get excited. So negative 1 and 5 would be our two numbers that we would work with. So far, so good, you guys? Can't be 6, right, Jacob? Because it's a negative 1 plus a 5. That would give us 4. Okay. We're going to do one more example together, and then you're going to get some to do by yourself. All right, can I switch the page? Anyone need me to wait? Let's say that. Do I need to wait to turn the page? Okay, no one's telling me to wait. We're going to do this. All right, so now we're going to do, let's look at this one. This one right here, guys. Right here. Oh, question. Yes, Giselle, you need me to go back? You didn't type fast enough. Sorry. I get ahead of myself. All right, go ahead, kid. Tell me when you're done writing it down. Shh. Oh, not now, dog.
Fitz has a question.
Fitz. Oh, he does? Where? Oh, he just said wait. They're copying. You guys are just copying down, right? Or no? Can these questions have fractions or decimals? No, you should not get a fraction or a decimal. If you did, do it again.
I have a question.
Yep.
I might have missed this from earlier and just didn't hear you, but the rest of the
Okay, let's look at this guy. So we are dealing with both negative numbers, okay? So that means our number over here, our biggest number has to be our negative, okay? So let's start with 1. We're going to say 1 times a negative 15, and yes, that gives us our negative 15. Now if we add it, 1 plus negative 15, we get a negative 14, right? So that's not what we want. So let's see, a 2 is not divisible into 15, so we're not going to do 2. Let's do 3. 3 times negative 5 gives us the negative 15. Okay, Fitz answered you. Okay. So now let's add this. 3 plus a negative 5, and that gives us our negative 2, right? So we found our two numbers, 3 and negative 5. Everybody see that? Any questions on those two? That one was easy. I like when there's only like 1 or 2 we got to do. The only way to change a negative into a positive is to multiply 2 negatives. Yep. Okay, you guys are just talking, I'm assuming. Are we good, Fitz? Do you need me to answer you something? Okay. All right, so now the ones I'm going to give you now you're going to work on alone. Did you guys see how I got that? Any questions there? I know some of you got mixed answers. No, we're good? All right. Let me just put in.
So on question 3, are you just going down each number to seeing which number goes into 63 to get negative 16?
Yeah, so we start with our 1 or negative, whatever it has to be, right? And then the reason I went to 3, the reason I went to negative 3 is because we can't, 2 is not divisible in 63, right? We can't, nothing divides with that, so, or multiplies with that 2 to get that. So that's why I jumped to 3. So yeah, you're just starting with 1 and going down your list until you find your numbers.
Yeah, and which number gets to your negative 16, and then that's your answer.
Right. Right, and then your answer would be those two numbers. So it wouldn't. So we use negative 7 and negative 9.
Those two last numbers.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. I'm going to put in the numbers for up here. So number 1, let's see who got that one right. That one is, so 2 positives, that's always easy, right? So we did 1 times 24. 1 plus 24 is not 11, so we knew it wasn't 1. Let's do 2 times 12. That would give us 14. Almost. Let's do 3 times 8. That gives us 24. But if we add it, that's giving us 11. So, oh, look at that. We're there, right? So, you guys, did you guys get 3 and 8 for number 1? And if not, see why you didn't. Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Woo-hoo. Okay, let's look at 2. Number 2. We have 2 positive numbers again. Oh, I love those. Okay, 1 times 60, 60, but we know 1 plus 60 is not 17. This one is a little bit more so. 2 times 30 gives us the 60, but if we add that, we're only getting 32, so that's not it. Let's do 3 times 20, but if we add that, that's only 23. Okay, and we have 4 times 15, and if we add that, we're getting 19. Holy moly! Then we have 5 times 12, that gives us our 60. Let's add that up, and we're getting, whoops. Oh yeah, I did that right. Then we get 17. Okay, 6 times 10 gives us 60.
Oh,
If
you
we,
got it.
where? Huh?
5 plus 12 is 17.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I got excited there. I kept going. There we go. I got it. Sorry. So 5 and 12. And now my dogs are howling because they hear something. I apologize. Did you guys get 5 and 12? Say get going, and I added it too quick in my head. Yes, yes? You did? You did? Anybody get it wrong and they're confused? Ask me, please. Yes, but I have a question. Go. What's your here? So we're going to write down x squared plus 10x plus 24. We're going to go through our steps and see what we got going on here. So write that down. Give you a few seconds to get that down. So step 1 says, and you can look back in your notes if you need to. Who said something? Sorry.
That was me, sorry.
Oh, okay. So we have to first see, step 1 says to write in descending order. Is this in descending order, you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, yes. Okay, hopefully you do not disagree with that, because yes, that is in descending order. Okay, now we're going to factor out, or actually no, we're going to find, no, let me see. I'm making sure my steps are good here. No, we're going to go straight to our, how come we don't see, I have a question, Miss Myers. 2 says to factor out GCF, but don't we just go straight to find the numbers now?
Well, okay, so step 1
Yeah.
is put it in descending order. It's
Right.
good. Step 2, check for GCF. There is not one.
Okay, okay.
So we're on step 3.
Got it. So then our step 2 would be to find the GCF, but like she said, we don't have one there. Okay. So now we're going to go straight to our beautiful boxes that we did, right? So I'm just going to go off to the side, and I'm writing at a weird angle. It's going to be even messier than usual. So remember, our first box is our A times C, right? So we're multiplying. And remember, if you look back on those steps, I showed you what the formula was, and it said ax squared. So we know this one is our A, and then it says plus bx. So this is our B, and then plus C. So that's where we're going to get these numbers from. So A times C, there's a 1 there, right? And then times 24. So 1, let's try to squeeze this in, times 24, and we're dealing with positive numbers, is just a 24. So we know this one's going to be 24, okay? And then our C is over here, or I mean, I lied, our B is over here, and we can see our B is 10, right? You guys get how I got those numbers? Any questions on how I got those numbers? Let's say that.
When it's this kind of equation, would it always be an ABC sequence when you like look at the terms, or would it switch up somehow?
Once you write it in descending order, it's going to be A, B, C. right, so we're dealing with two positive numbers, right? Okay, I want you guys to try to work this one out, and then once you think you get the numbers, let me know. Remember, start with 1, and we don't have any negatives to deal with, so this one shouldn't be too hard. We'll start with our 1. Tell me what two numbers you guys get in the chat when you're there. 4 and 6, right? Because 4 times 6 is 24, and then 4 plus 6 is 10. Okay? So now we're going to look at our next step and see what we got to do. So according to our next step, which would be, we're in 5. We're going to rewrite the expression by splitting the middle term using the numbers we found in step 4. So we're going to look at this middle term, and it's our 10x, right? So we're going to use our 4 and our 6 that we got over here in place of that 10x. So that's going to look like our x squared, and we're going to use our 4, but we have to attach our x to it, and then put our 6 in there and attach our x to it, and then add that 24. So if we add these together, we see we got 10, right? So that's where that splitting comes into place. Any questions there? I don't want to lose you after any steps here. Any questions on what I did there? So I use these numbers to split up that 10x pretty much. Make sense? Okay. Don't see any questions yet. Okay. Now we're going to move on to 6, and we're going to factor by grouping. So let's look at our groups. So remember, our groups were these two and these two. So those are our two different groups, right? So we're going to factor. What can we factor out of x squared plus 4x? X? Yes, I like it. Okay. So then if we do, I always forget to put my x first. So I'm going to put my x, and then we have our parentheses, right? So if we divide x squared divided by x, we should be left with an x. And then 4x divided by x, we should be left with the 4, and we need to put in that plus sign, right? Okay. What can I factor out of 6x plus 24? 6? Yes, I'm seeing 6s. Awesome. You guys are great. Okay. Now I got to remember my addition sign, and then I got to put my 6 out here, and then we're going to fill in those parentheses. Okay. So 6x divided by 6, that gives us x, right? And then 24 divided by 6 would give us a 4, and we need our positive sign in there. So, woohoo! So good news, you can see, we have the same number in our parentheses, right? That means we did it right so far. Yay, yay. If you get different numbers in there, you're going to have to go back and check your work from this point up, okay? So now we're going to take our x plus 4 that we got, and then we're going to take these outside guys and put them in their own parentheses, like so. And then this is our answer. Any questions on that? Got x squared minus 7x plus 10. Write that one down. Don't worry about the others yet. And then tell me, is this in descending order? Yes, 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 good. Okay, so we can't, there's no GCF we can find in this, right? So we're going to jump to finding our numbers. So that's our table, right? And remember, this is A, because it's in descending order, this is B, and this is C. Okay? So let's do our chart on the side. Oh, that's a nice crooked line. Awesome. So remember, this is A times C. And if we have A as 1, right, because we know that there's no number in front of the variable, it's a 1. And then times it by the 10. So it's going to be 1 times 10. So we're going to look for 10. And then our B is negative 7, right? So we're dealing with a positive and a negative number. And so that means that to get it to multiply and add to these, we're going to have the smaller number be negative. Okay, so tell me, you guys do that, and tell me when you think you found those two numbers. And then I'll check it with you. What does x squared minus 2x have in common? What can we pull out of that? X? Okay, yes, x. Okay. Okay, there's our x. Okay, so let's do this one first. So now we pulled out, Jaden, I think this might be where you get confused. So we got our x. So now we can pull that x out here right away, right? We know that's going to be our outside number. Okay? And then our parentheses is going to be what we divide right here, because in essence we're dividing that x out, right? So x squared divided by x gives us an x. And then our negative 2x divided by x would give us our negative 2, correct? Get that part? Okay. We're just finding what's in common, so that's where that x, they both share an x, right? So we took an x out. So what about here? What does 5x and 10 have in common? What can we take out? What's something that divides into both of those? 5, yes, 5. So it's going to be, and actually it's going to be a negative 5, right? Okay, so now we have our negative 5. What?
The reason we do a negative 5 is just, that's what's, if you practice this, that's, if you do a positive 5, you're not going to get a second parenthesis of x minus 2. So it's just, part of the steps there is if that first number of your two terms is negative, then pull out a negative GCF.
Okay. So now, Jaden, we got our negative 5 pulled out, right? Because that goes into both of those terms. So we're going to put that on the outside, right? And now we can fill in our parentheses. So negative 5x divided by a negative 5 would give us an x, right? And then 10 divided by negative 5 gives us that negative 2. So Jaden, does that make more sense? Are you good right there? Okay, so now we see that what we have in our parentheses is the same. Yay, we're good. We're going to pull that group down here, okay? And then we're left with that x and that negative 5, so that's going to be our second group. So this is our factoring from up there. Make sense? Questions? Down this next one. So this says x squared minus 8xy, and that's a minus 24y squared. So we have negative 24, right? We have to multiply to get negative 24 and add to get negative 8. So someone tell me, just curious, are we going to have, what's our numbers going to look like over here if we have two negatives that we're trying to find? Are they going to be, was one going to be positive? Or are they both going to be? And how? That's what I mean by that question. A negative and a positive. And is the bigger number or the smaller number going to be negative, Natalie? Yes. Good. Okay, so if we're, I'll just do the first one and then you guys are going to do it. So it would be negative 1, or positive 1 times a negative 24. So our bigger number should be our negative, right? Okay, so find your numbers. Let me know what you guys get. Oops, that's not a 24. I am losing it. It's a 12. Oof. Hit record, that would help. So x squared minus 2xy minus 35y squared. Okay. So here we go. We're going to find our numbers. Okay, and remember, oh, and it is, we said it's in descending order, right? Because we have our x's, and I forget how exactly you worded it, but x is in the front part, and then once we deal with our y's, then we put our, I don't know how to explain it right. Can you explain that part?
Well, it's the x's go in descending order from left to right.
Thank you.
The y's go in descending order from right
to left. Okay, that's what I was trying to say. Sorry. Okay, so it's in descending order. So we have our A, B, and our C. So remember, we're multiplying in this first box. So A times C, that's a 1 times a negative 35. So that should give us a negative 35, right? So we're going to be finding whatever multiplies to negative 35. Then our B is that negative 2. So, and remember, we add on this side. Okay, multiply this side, add on this side. So let's start with our, so we have a negative number here and a positive number here. So we want to do the smaller number negative. Did I say that correct? I always get them confused too, guys. I check myself before I get going because negatives and positives are, yes, the smaller number is negative. I was right. Woohoo. Okay. So we're going to start with our negative 1 times 35, and that gives us our negative 35. But now if we add negative 1 plus 35, we're going to get what? We're going to get, and I am just double checking to make sure I'm not messing anything up. We're going to get our 34, yes. Okay, perfect. That's not it, right? Not 12. Okay, so let's see. Can 2 go into 35? Pretty sure it can't. So we're going to jump to, 3 can't go into it either. So we're going to jump to a 4, and that doesn't go in it. We're going to go to 5, and that does, right? So negative 5 times 7. And that will give us our negative 35. So let's add negative 5 plus 7. So negative 5 plus 7. And that gives us an, oh, what happened? Yes, go ahead.
How did you get 12?
I think the
Oh.
positive there, the positive looks
Yeah.
like a 12.
That was me. Thank you so much, because I was already realizing these numbers seemed funny. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we found our numbers, right? Negative 5. What?
The B is the B should be negative 2.
Negative 2. God, that looks awful. Negative 2. Okay. So then we're going to change. That's going to make our...
You have to flip those positive
Yep.
and negative.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, I'm starting my box over. I'm sorry I confused you. That's what happens when I can't even read my own squishy writing. So A times C. Start over. A times C. That's our negative 35, right? Okay. Then our negative 2. Negative 2. Oh my god, I wrote 12 again. I'm done. I'm firing myself. I'm over it. Negative 12. Or someone has not had their coffee today. Negative 2. Okay? So, we're dealing with two negative numbers, right? So that means we're going to have our bigger number negative, right? Did I say that right this time?
Yes.
Thank you. Gee whiz. Sorry, guys. Times, okay, so let's do 1 times negative 35. And then let's add 1 plus negative 35. And that's not a negative 2, right? Okay, so let's do, we jumped all the way to 5 up here. So we're just going to do that. So 5 times negative 7. That gives us our negative 35. And then 5 plus a negative 7. Is that our negative 2, guys? Think so, right? Okay. So after all that craziness, there's our numbers. Okay. So we have a 5 and a negative 7. And now remember at this step, this is where we're going to replace those for our middle term. Okay? But it looks, we're going to write it we're going to do it a little differently. Since we have a negative number, our second number is negative, I should say, we want to write that one first. It just makes it easier in the whole factoring. And what was the reason, Miss Mars? I always forget. Why is it easier to put the negative first?
It's, that way we don't have to remember to pull out our GCF as negative.
That's right. Thank you. All right, so now...
Sometimes that's the mistake that we make a lot. I make that mistake a lot too. So
Yeah.
I forget, oh yeah, it was supposed to be a negative.
Mhm.
So if I have one of each, I just use the negative first, and then it like works it all out itself.
Okay, so that'll be our negative 7xy, and then we have our positive 5xy, and then bring down our 35y squared. Okay, are we all good there, guys? All good? Okay, here we go. So now we're going to break it up in our groups, and, oh, I was supposed to go through this fast and not ask questions, sorry. So we need to figure out what we're going to factor out of here, out of our x squared minus 7x, and I'm thinking just an x. Yep. So I would put my x out front. X squared divided by x would give us our x. And then negative 7xy divided by x, we should be left with a negative 7y. And if I do something wrong, Ms. Myers, just, I'm trying not to do it fast without asking them. Okay, and then this one, 5xy minus 35y squared, I'm going to pull out a 5y. Okay, because they have that in common. So I'm going to put it out here so I don't forget, because I'm like Jaden and I would forget. And then we'll do 5xy divided by 5y, and that should give us an x, right? Yes, I did that right. Okay, now that I messed up my box, I'm doubting myself. Okay, negative 35y squared divided by a 5y would give us a 7, just a 7. Yeah, we're good. No, 7y, sorry, because it's squared, my bad. Okay, so we got matching in our parentheses. Woohoo, that's good. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to write that first. That's our first group over here. And then we're left with our x and our 5y. Oops, I started writing that funny. See, now I'm all discombobulated because I messed up my chart. X plus 5y. Okay, my brain hurts. Thank you, you too. I love lunch.
I'm starving. I didn't eat breakfast.
Oh, yeah.